This is Josh Wood's Genesis podcast. My hope is that this will help you connect in new ways with the God of the Bible as it helps me study, process, and think out loud. Thanks so much for listening. Let's go. Genesis chapter 29. I'll start with a brief synopsis of Genesis 29, Josh's revised abbreviated version. Jacob falls for Rachel and agrees to work 7 years for his uncle Laban in exchange for marrying her. After 7 years, Jacob finally marries, but in a bizarre twist, the Bible's full of bizarre twists, he accidentally marries her lazy-eyed sister Leah. Then he works 7 more years in exchange for Rachel. Side note, as is often the case in the Bible, none of the main characters in this story take on the role of hero. All of the characters have flaws. Do you know what I don't remember as a kid? I don't remember ever sitting in a Bible class or listening to a sermon or reading my Bible and thinking, man, this stuff is incredibly messed up. Reading Genesis as an adult, though, there are very few chapters where I haven't had that thought. Man, this stuff is pretty messed up. Genesis 29 is, well, another one of those chapters. Jacob thought he was making a deal to marry Rachel, but when the light of day came, he realized he was with Leah. Was he drunk? If so, exactly how drunk was he? I mean, there's buzzed and over-celebrating a Dallas Cowboys touchdown drunk. And then there's, I got married and slept with the wrong woman drunk. Maybe she was veiled, as I've heard the custom was those days. Or maybe he was, in fact, just really drunk. Maybe both. Who knows? Anyway, talk about morning after confusion and regret. I have a few thoughts here. First of all, I'm betting that Jacob would have most likely immediately realized the parallel between deceiving his father and being deceived by Laban. If you recall in chapter 27, his father Isaac couldn't see. Jacob convinced Isaac that he was with one person, Esau, when he was in fact with another person, Jacob. Laban pulled a similar trick. This time, Jacob finds himself in the dark. Instead of being old with weak eyes, he was unable to see for other reasons. Jacob was told he was with one person, Rachel, when he was in fact with another, Leah. Although I doubt Leah would refer to the act as receiving Jacob's blessing, this is in essence the natural consequence of procreation, possible co-creation of your firstborn, who traditionally would receive your blessing. In other words, thanks to Laban's deception, Jacob's blessing could ultimately go to the wrong person, to Leah's child rather than Rachel's. I bet Jacob saw the irony. In parenting and in life, the times I've been most frustrated with something or someone, God was trying to teach me something about my own flaws. Every time. Here's a good habit. The times in life when you're most frustrated with someone, as Jacob was with Laban, I think it's good to pause and reflect. Is there something God is trying to show you or teach you? Nothing stinks more than that moment you realize you're wrong in an argument or in life. But what if God is trying to show you something about your own life in these moments of frustration, moments of high emotion, moments where someone has just pulled a fast one on you and you accidentally slept with the wrong woman? I'll give you an example from my life. Not that exact example. I don't have that example, thankfully, but a different example. As all kids do, my kids love playing with empty boxes. Some years, the boxes get more playtime than the Christmas gift they contained. Why didn't we just wrap up the empty boxes instead of spending money on the gifts? I digress. Many years ago, one of my daughters, who was around 2 years old at the time, was playing with a box that, when she stood in it, came to just above her knees. For some reason, she decided to put the box on her head and run around in circles. All of a sudden, she stopped and turned to face a wall that was about 10 feet in front of her. Then, blinded by the box on her head, she proceeded to run full speed into the wall. Smack! I wasn't fast enough to stop her. There she lay, moaning and sprawled out on the floor, with the box still somehow covering her head and shoulders. I hear a muffled and tearful, "Daddy, I've got an owie," from inside the box. Part of me was concerned about whether or not she was injured. She wasn't, she was fine, just a bruise. The other part of me was thinking, well, of course you've got an owie. You just stuck a box over your head and ran full speed into a wall. How is this possibly going to end well? Later on, I asked myself the question, what can I learn about myself from this situation? At the time, I was incredibly stressed and exhausted, all the time. Most of my prayers went something like this. God, please take away my stress. I'm so unbearably tired. Please grant me some rest. In other words, my prayers were the grown-up version of, Daddy, I've got an owie. Then I surveyed my life. Between my day job, side businesses, boards, church, family, home renovation projects, etc., I was absurdly overcommitted. I'd said, sure, I can help you with that, to pretty much anyone who asked. Tip, saying, sure, I can help you with that, isn't a blessing to anyone if you don't have time to do, insert name of task here, well. In fact, you're actually, while well-meaningly, becoming a roadblock to whomever you agree to help. The lesson. I was doing exactly what my daughter had done. I'd put a box on my head, ran into a wall, then whined about having an owie. I wasn't hurting because God wasn't granting me peace or rest or sleep or stress relief. I was hurting because I foolishly ran myself full speed into a wall. I kind of feel like God was just shaking his head at my prayers. Well, of course you're stressed and tired. You committed to 37 hours a day worth of work. How is this possibly going to end well? Try taking the box off your head and not running around like a crazy person. So that's one of my takeaways from Genesis 29. If I'm honest about the times in my life where I've been most frustrated with something or someone, there's been an issue in my life that I needed to refine. Thanks for the painful reminder, Genesis 29. Here's my second takeaway from this chapter. As we get to the end of chapter 29, Leah seems to put all of her hopes on Jacob loving her. The text basically says, if I can just have a child for him, he'll finally love me. If I can just have a child, everything in my world will be right. I'll finally have peace. 3 times in verses 32 through 34. Each time she realizes that accomplishing her goal leaves her unfulfilled. We all do the same thing. For some it's children, for others it's career, for others it's a relationship, for others it's money. If I can just have blank, everything in my world will be right and I'll have peace. Something in Leah changes though. In verse 35 her tone changes. This time I will praise the Lord. Verse 35, NIV. It's as if she's made a mental shift to acknowledge where ultimate peace comes from. When she finally lays down her empty desires and opts to praise God anyway, she gives birth to Judah, the tribe of Jesus. Perhaps that's a good place to end this week and a good lesson to take away from Genesis 29. Is there something outside of Jesus in which we're pinning our hopes for a bright future? Fame, money, power, spouse, kids? All those things will be found wanting. Don't take my word for it, though. I'll leave you with a couple of quotes from non-Christian, highly successful people. Ash Ali. If you pin your self-love and happiness to something external, you'll either keep moving the finish line and never be happy, or you'll experience the most profound anticlimax in your life and get depressed when you realize that achieving your external goal does not fill the inner void. From an interview with Tom Brady. Brady. There's times where I'm not the person that I want to be. Why do I have 3 Super Bowl rings and still think there's something greater out there for me? I mean, maybe a lot of people would say, hey man, this is what it is. I reached my goal, my dream, my life. Me, I think, God, it's got to be more than this. I mean, this can't be what it's all cracked up to be. I mean, I've done it. I'm 27, and what else is there for me? Interviewer. What's the answer? Brady. I wish I knew. I wish I knew.
Yeah. Genesis 29. Yo, Jacob's out here, Genesis 29. Fell for Rachel hard, thought she'd be mine. 7 years of grind for Uncle Laban's deal. Wedding night twist, man, what's the real? Leah in the veil, lazy eye surprise. Jacob woke up mad like, yo, that's disguise. Thanks to brutal irony dealt from above. 7 more years of work, he doubles down for love. Messed up tales, yeah, the word don't lie. Deception in the dark, Jacob's asking why. God's throwing lessons when the frustration hits. Pause and reflect, yo, what's the fix? Laban flipped script like Isaac back when blindness in the game. Karma coming then, kids kids with a box running wild. Smack, daddy stressed out, praying for a nap over committed life. Exhausted in the chase, God's like, take the blinders off, man, slow the pace. Leah's hoping kids make Jacob stay. 3 shots failed and she prays anyway. Judah's born, praise flips the scene. Peace ain't in the grind, it's the king supreme. Tom Brady's ring still feeling void. Genesis 29, it's truth deployed. Deployed. Yo. Truth deployed. Truth deployed. Judah's born, praise flips the scene. Peace ain't in the grind, it's the king supreme. Tom Brady's ring still feeling void. Genesis 29, it's truth deployed. Yo, it's truth deployed. Judah's born, praise flips the scene. Peace ain't in the grind, it's the king supreme. Tom Brady's ring still feeling void. Genesis 29, it's truth deployed.
You've been listening to Josh Wood's Genesis podcast. Feel free to connect with me on Substack, Instagram, Facebook, X, or Threads. My username is JoshWoodTX on all of the above. Thanks for listening. See you next time.